Back. Coachella take two. This is a special place to get out in the middle of the desert, and sometimes the internet sucks. And even with Starlink and technology, but I've been in technology my whole life, so apologies for that. So if you were on the other stream and you're going to come back, great. If not, no big deal. But yeah, here we are talking about the Derby. We're gonna talk about Coachella. We're gonna talk about festivals and the correlations between me coming last minute to Coachella, having having been to Coachella, the very first Coachella, and seeing Tool and Rage Against the Machine and Ben Harper and all these Underworld and all these good acts. But I always like to speak abstractly because it makes you think more. I'm here to try and help people understand little bits and pieces about communicating better about horse racing to be able to get more profitable over time. So when I'm using these abstract analogies and all these different references, the goal is to stretch your mind. I'm not here to give you a horse. I'm not here to tell you to bet on the next race. If I even did and I was good, the odds would get smashed like they did at the Keeneland race last weekend when the horse went from 14 to 6 to 1, and it was only $8,000 that did that. So if you actually believed in what I'm saying, you should not be asking me for horses. But the analogies between our everyday lives are critical when it comes to value assessment. Me coming out to Coachella last second and having a boundary condition and saying I'll spend $400 getting a ticket at 9:30 at night from a scalper is in parallel with me only taking a certain odds line on a horse in a given race. If I didn't get the tickets that I got, which was amazing, this dude, after waiting around a little bit, he was willing to sell me his tickets, and I said, I'll give you $100. He said, sure. And then he said, you don't even have to give me the money. He's like, do something nice with the money. This is not what I would expect from somebody from Coachella either. And there was a woman who I was talking to, a young woman who was just very upset about getting scammed. And I'm like, yeah, just give her the money. She, and I probably in hindsight should have given her the tickets or the band, but actually I ended up get it reset and I came back and she was gone. So I'm not trying to be a saint here, but karma's real. Everything we do, everything we say is connected to the frequencies. Gambling is a frequency. Trying to get rich quick is a frequency. Trying to show off is a frequency. I'm here to share and learn from you guys where you're stuck. I don't have a goal of doing this forever, but I'm going to do some of it right now. Horse racing has given me so much to my personal life. It wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be fair for me to not do something to try to help this game. And the mind is half of it. The body and spirit is the other half. The intuition is the other half too. But I wanted to talk about the Derby today a little bit and go through some things, some common mistakes. And it's a Sunday and I'm at Coachella. It's hot. I'm in the desert. I'm going to show you guys some video. I don't even know what you guys saw before the stream ended. I've been doing technology for years. I'm on my second kombucha, by the way. And hopefully you're not laughing at me. But I wanted to show you a couple things. If this is replay, then pardon me, but I just wanted to show you part of the experience out here in Coachella. This is today, coming back and seeing the car, everyone left, right? So this is the overflow lot where I had to park last night because I came in late. So I'm just gonna kind of give you guys a little tease here, because if you saw this already, apologies, but I'm gonna start fresh. Coachella, I've been going, I don't really go that much. I've been to Burning Man more than 10 times. That's an interesting society of people, brilliant people. Some of the most creative and architects, endeavors, imaginations, all in one place, all over the world. Usually when I first went, it was like 25,000. Now it's like 80,000, 70,000. I started a big camp a long time ago, and We were giving away vegan ice cream and water in the front, and like a lounge. And now I'm going to switch it up, get some a little more electric. But if you have Burning Man questions, you can always ask me too. Hopefully this chat works. Don't be shy. If you want to ask me something, it's fine. I wanted to show you a couple more things from Coachella real quick, since I can. Actually, no, I don't want to show you that. I want to show you what it was like walking in. And I wanted to, again, tie this to the idea of value. When you go to anything, a festival or an event, or you're having dinner, you got to know where your bottom line is. Like, how much money are you going to spend? Same kind of exact principle. How much money are you going to spend on merchandise? You spend $100, $200 on a hoodie, $50 in a hat, $20 in a hat. What's your food and beverage allocation? A lot of people like to drink a lot more than I do. I don't really consume that much alcohol. I know it serves purposes, but it's just not really that big of a deal to me anymore. Also, especially when I go to horse races. But if you haven't been to a music festival, I thought this would be cool. It's just something that's really near and dear to my heart. I'm friends with a lot of DJs and artists all over the world, and music brings people together, and it also opens up part of the brain that we need access to help us make it's the imaginative side of the brain that helps us actually see things for more than the obvious. And I was saying earlier in the stream before I got disrupted that Einstein and Stephen Hawking both discovered the bulk of their work in dreams. And you probably know that, so pardon me for sounding like Captain Obvious, but you have to think about those kind of things. How can you think alternatively? If you're going to make money in horse racing, you cannot go with the grain. You're going to have to beat 20% every time, right? To break even, maybe make a little bit. So for every race that you're looking at, if you can't deduct 20% from the probabilities of all the horses, you're not going to make money in the long run. Pretty common sense, but I want people to hear this multiple times so that they can get clear on getting into almost like an alternative reality. You have to be in a different mindset to number one, like horse racing enough to bet on it, as much as we do, and then you have to use a part of your brain you don't normally use, which means you have to be uncomfortable. So if you're not uncomfortable at the races on a regular basis, and again, there's years, your first year, your second year, your fifth year, your 10th year, your 20th year, you're going through the journey. And sometimes, like Michael Phelps, to be able to get those last few hundredths of a second, tenths of a second off his time, had to do very interesting things. Very difficult to get to those points, but he got to make gold medals. And actually, he was a McDonald's guy, by the way, which is kind of gross. But I was going to say that when you think about things differently, you're growing. You have to be uncomfortable. You can't win every race. You can't think you're going to win every race. You have to take what's given to you. It's just like in football. There's reasons why the Chiefs were winning Super Bowls, because Mahomes decided not to air the ball long anymore. He started doing, long handoffs and dumps. And that is he adapted. When you're in horse racing and you're starting to make decisions about who to bet on, you got to think about where is your bottom line? Like, how uncomfortable can you get? You don't want to lose your money. So we know that, but it's a mirage. If you're going to be betting on horses, you're going to have to bat 20%. So if you're not batting 20%, you're probably not making a profit in horse racing. I don't even know if you know what that means, but if you played the races 5 days, or if you bet 5 races, you're going to win 1 out of 5 on average. So what does that feel like compared to gambling, like blackjack, poker, other games? You're winning half the time. That's why horse racing is triple the tax. And 1.5 to 2 times the less likelihood of the dopamine spike. Huge hurdle. You're not getting the dopamine spike every other time. You're getting it 1 out of 5 times. And when you win money and you get that money, you have to be patient enough to be able to withstand those curves, those ups and downs. So my goal again is to try and share some things that has helped me get my mind right and get my bankroll right and get my my analysis right, because to me it's about performing at my level of excellence, what I am intending to do. I set an intention and I deliver or I don't. If I don't deliver on what I'm doing, then I'm out of integrity. I don't know if that totally makes sense, but when you think about integrity, most people think it's about morality. I remember taking some self-development workshops once, and this guy made an analogy, like if you have a tire, 2 tires on a bike, and if you had 10 spikes or spokes in the tires, that will get you in the exact location, the exact direction you want to go. If you had 8 spokes in those tires, you might be off by this much, but that can take you, obviously, pointing one direction as a ship on a horizon can take you to a whole nother continent. So over the long run, I'm going to speak like this, and you can hate on it all you want. There's a lot of people that don't like the fact that I speak abstractly. It doesn't bother me. I am who I am. But when you're making decisions about races, you're going to have to get really clear on what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. Are you in integrity with yourself? If you set out, to get to a certain amount of money, a year, a month, a day, like, and you don't deliver. Imagine if you didn't take your child to school on time, or you didn't turn in an exam in college to get your PhD or master's or degree. Imagine if you didn't help somebody in your work, and then the company failed, or the product didn't get launched, or somebody got fired, or I'm trying to speak in these extremes because if I just say do this, nothing ever happens. So think about how you can be uncomfortable. Think about what it's like to be uncomfortable, and then understand the evolution of that discomfort. It's going to be uncomfortable for you to hear me say this, but horse racing has a massive communications problem. People say the word, I like this horse, this horse is that, and this, they speak so freely, and there's just no accountability about what they're actually saying in terms of trying to help someone win something. People are just sharing all this information, and I don't understand the purpose of it sometimes. I think it's entertaining in a way, but it's not necessarily like my style. Like, I'm here more hardcore, and I hope you guys can appreciate that. I really want people to learn the game, at least how to be more connected to what they're doing. If you don't care about making money and you're just having a good time, then do it. It's fine. If you actually want to look at the Kentucky Derby right now for a minute, we talked about value going to Coachella, waiting to last minute just because I wasn't sure, not giving a crap about the headliners. I'm not a Bieber guy. Armin van Buuren's great. Today there was a couple bands, French Police, Suicidal Tendencies, Iggy Pop. Who else is playing today? Duke Dumont, Subtronics. Anyway, so it's just like horse racing. It's like usually the best values in the things that people don't care about. Okay, so I'm speaking about value. And I'm going to close on the Coachella stuff in a moment, but I'll share maybe a video to you, a few more videos at the end. But nobody remembers the guy who usually or the band that performs the best on the big stage. It's usually the 2 a.m., 4 a.m. set, obscure DJ, less than 100 people, because he's being in his authenticity or she's being in her authenticity. So I want to kind of use this analogy. Same with horse racing. Nobody's going to remember you if you pick the favorite in the Derby. No one's going to care. And I think a lot of the talking heads would be foolish to continue to speak about favorites. On one end, you're misleading the public because I think I started this stream. I can't remember the last stream and how it got broken up by disruption. But in the Derby, if there's 20 horses and every horse is treated the same, if they all were in the range of each other, they should be 20 to 1, 5% each. So the baseline should be 20 to 1, right? The only reason to bet the Derby or any race is if you can beat basically 20 to 25 to 30% and knock it out of the race, meaning you can deduct it from the horses. The only way you can get there is you can take a horse at 50 to 1 or 20 to 1, and you can make him 50 to 1. Go from 5% to 2%. You're saving 3% there. Try doing that 7 times. 7 horses you think should be 50 to 1 in the Derby. Can you do that? That's your game. If you're going to play a 10 to 1 shot, then you better be really confident that the horse has got 15 to 20% chance to win the race. The other alternative I was going to say, though, is if you can take a horse at 5 to 1, you can make him 10 to 1, 10%. If he's at 5 to 1 or 4 to 1, he's 20%. If he goes to 10 to 1, he's 10%, 9%. That's a way to save big chunks of money on the takeout. If you cannot make the statement that the top 3 favorites should be 10% in this year's Derby, I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying if you can't make this statement, how are you going to get to 25% of the money in the pools deducted so that you can stand a chance at making money on the Derby in the long run? Okay? That's the mindset. It's easier to tear apart favorites to get yourself in a position to bet it. That's why intuitively everyone knows if they hate the favorite, they should bet the race because they're going to get those odds and they're going to show up. So think about how to leverage your strengths and weaknesses to land on numbers on horses. Every single horse in this industry that races on every single day should have a number next to it. And it does with the morning line, which is a guy's projected odds. But horse players, I want to speak to the everyday horse player, come up with a way based on tracking yourself and put it in tiers, A, B's, and C's. How can you quantify your horses? Try to put odds on them as well. So you can group all your 10 to 1s together. You can group all your A's together. You can group all your B's together. However you can do this, but you need to start understanding, are you crap at 10 to 1s, but amazing at 20 to 1s? And what does success look like for you? Does that mean hitting 2 out of 20? Which is pretty good on a 20 to 1 shot. It's a lot easier to hit 2 out of 20 on a long shot, right, than it is to hit 4 out of 7 on a favorite, or 3 out of 7 on a heavier favorite. So I want to present that to you. We're talking about Derby right now. Talking about a few things, and I'm going to head off to the festival in a little while. Ask yourself, when you look at the previous Derbies, where were you wrong? Like, what did you do differently? Like, what would you have done differently? It's going to be interesting to see how people respond to the videos I come up with. I wouldn't be surprised if more people start talking this way. It's needed. The industry needs this. The industry needs to have hard conversations about boundary conditions for their horses. If you like a horse, you shouldn't say, I like this horse. You should say, my bottom line is 5 to 1. My bottom line is 7 to 1. My bottom line is 10 to 1. Or my bottom line is 10%. That's what I want to do here, is I want to encourage that. But in the Derby history, I'm asking you guys right now, and I'll get to a question here. Somebody put something in here. When you think about the past, where did you fail? Have you been able to make a fig for any of Danon Bourbon's races? Have tried collateral form and time comparisons, and they seem positive, but it's hard to get a clear number. Good question. I think that when you start looking at speed figures, you're opening up an interesting philosophical discussion with me. People love to put a number on a horse. I'm actually ironically telling you to put a number on a horse. I'm telling you to put a probability. It's actually a range, but for simplicity, put a number, put a bottom line number. Same with figures, you can do that. What I would ask you is to go about it differently. Think about not putting a figure on the horse, but instead just think, what figure would you have to put on the horse in order to bet him at the odds in the market right now? And is that par for 3-year-olds at this level? Is it a length above par, 2 lengths above par? There's been some fast figures and from some of these horses coming over before, like fast-ish, I guess I would say. Forever Young ran a pretty massive race. It wasn't really bettable to me, and in my case, it worked out. Not that I hit that Derby, I didn't. Walk yourself through what you think of the field, and if you do disagree that the favorites are overbet, and if you think they are underwhelming at 20%, then I would start to think about the math it would take to get to that figure. Whether you're 50% of the time right or wrong on the figure, the question should be answered based on your feelings of the other horses in the race. 3-year-olds are rapidly improving like crazy, so even if you did get a good number on it, say it was slow, say it was all right, say it was good, say it was great. I mean, coming over to a new country, shipping, I don't know. So put figures on horses all day long. I would say put probabilities on these horses. You tell me right now what you think his odds are. For you, like what would you take? You're not going to get probably above 20 to 1 on them. You're not going to get above 25 to 1. And if you did, you might want to be a little concerned, because if everybody thinks this horse has no chance that's at the higher volume levels, that's kind of a problem. I don't know. So I'm not going to answer your question mathematically, but I will say I looked at it. It's hard. It's not easy. You're not alone. But it's your Derby. The horse is a shot. I don't know, probably somewhere between 6 and 10% for me right now. I have to do more work. But anyway, all right. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about the past Derbies real quick here before I get going to the festival. Is it safe to say that some of these Derbies are really difficult? Mystic Dan, Mage, Rich Strike. I mean, Mandaloon is not the winner, but Medina Spirit. Not easy. Authentic, not easy. Country House, didn't really, but Maximum Security. That was a horse actually. I did like. I mean, my buddy in the KDBC, that DQ cost him the KDBC. The Derby is 2 or 3 races in one, partially because of the quantity of horses. I'm curious. I'm sure a lot of people will start talking this way. Just kind of like piggyback on what I'm saying. You can bet 2 horses in the race if there's 2 different races. Just say, if this happens, I'll take this horse. If that happens, I'll take that. And do that. That's one good way to look at it. But in the past, if you look at a lot of these horses, Animal Kingdom, I'll have another, Orb. Oh God, it was just gross. It happened on the reality show I was on in Horse Players. Well, I'll never let that one live down. The good old rain. Okay, California Chrome was pretty logical. I mean, it's not really saying anything that I liked him. He was just pretty obvious. But American Pharaoh, he was good. I mean, I didn't like him as much as other people did, but he was. So Chrome, Pharaoh, Nyquist, Always Dreaming, very logical horses. All my top picks in those Derby. So you could say, what does a top pick mean? I would put them at like, somewhere between around 25%. That said, since then, I've got my ass handed to me in the Derby by a lot of these horses. As much as I go through my ups and downs with my Derby journey, you're not supposed to be 100% of the time right, or 50% of the time right, or 30% of the time right. So every Derby is different, but you have to group them together. So it's the paradox. You start with them together and you say, oh, how do I do over the last 10 Derbies, 20 Derbies? Look at each of them and go back online, download those old racing forums, find that. Look at some old Derbies. I'm not going to say a website where you can do that because I don't want to have somebody get mad at me. But my point is, find the old PPs. Think about what you thought then. Obviously, you know who won now. Think about what's changed and get clear. How do you view the favorites for the Derby? What's your success when you pick a favorite as a Derby? Are you hitting your 20% shots? Are you hitting 1 out of 5, 1 out of 4, 25, 20%? So group them all together. Get your second favorites together. Group them all together. And the Derby, it's kind of crazy. Second favorites can be, almost 10-1. But go through your whole profile. And then look at that horse, like you said, from Japan and say, all right, does this horse fit into my profile in the past? And how can I correlate the two? How can I put a number on it? What's my boundary condition? And then what happens in the middle of the race, before the race starts? What's going to happen the next 2 weeks that's going to change it or sway my opinion? Good workout, bad workout, negative opinions, this and that. So I want you to think across the board about all the different ways that you can view your mental capacity in a 2-pronged horse race. It's basically 2 races, if not 3. To get your mind right, you have to be in integrity. You have to know your strengths and weaknesses. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to have a bankroll set aside. You have to set your goals for the day, for the week, for the month. You have to be very clear what your numbers are on the horses that you have in the race. If you can't figure out the numbers on every horse in the Derby, group them all together, kind of take a step back and say, okay, how often are these horses going to win? I don't have the holy grail for you for the Derby. The Derby is effing hard. And it's so funny that it's just this one race that everyone gets excited about. I was telling somebody last week, it's like this is the most boring 2 weeks ever of horse racing because we sit here waiting for a race that's very difficult to bet. The card's great usually on that day. It's difficult too. But we're just talking about baths and workouts and stories. I'm thinking about this from a hardcore gambling perspective and how to predict the future. for the horses that I think are going to do what I think they're going to do based on my integrity of how I deliver on my truth. So as hardcore as I am, take 10% of what I say, take 20% of what I say, talk all the smack you want. It's not a big deal if you don't like what I'm saying. Yes, I'm in the clouds. Yes, I'm from California. Yes, I've traveled the world. I've been in over 30 countries. My point is, I know what I know for me. That works for me. I don't know if a horse is ever going to win a race. I'm playing the probability long game, and I can tell you the Derby is effing hard. The horses that have won it recently are very difficult. So the main takeaway, that price matters more than logic. The price is wrong in the Kentucky Derby for a lot of these horses because of the hype, because of the consistency. Everybody loves to go with the fair weather fan horses. I find it interesting because I'm going to be surprised to see how people talk about the Derby this year in the media. You're going to have your figure boys who would like to duke it out over who's calculated the right figure, who's got the fastest horse. And then something will happen in the race and there'll be a trip error. But it's even funnier because all the figure boys, like, you can hold yourself accountable too. If your horse didn't get a bad trip, it got beat by 2 lengths, you better eat some serious crow. That's the level of integrity and accountability I'm talking about. If you think a horse is fast and he doesn't perform, why are you lying to yourself? And even if a horse had some trouble, is it 2 lengths of trouble? Is it a truly excused race? Figure out the ways to quantify or categorize your brain into tiers if you don't like numbers. Tier 1, less than 18%, 6-1 or less in the Derby. Look at those horses for you over the course of your Derby history. Download some old PPs. If you're wanting to go into the next step to maybe 10 to 18%, right? Second favorites in this case. How do you do in those horses? You might see things and know things that I don't even know. I respect players that can come up with horses that can beat the game or beat a tournament when I have no say. And there's the game theory behind it too. That's one thing. If you're just going to take a stab at a horse because you have to, like, you get respect for that, but it's not like if you went into it saying I'm keying my day around that horse. So long-winded here. Get your horses together. Get them into tiers. Put numbers on them. Look at the past. Figure out the sucker horses. I'm not talking about the My Boy Jack horses. Like, everybody knows a horse is over bad, or the Sandmans. I'm talking about some of these horses that lose, that people didn't think were going to lose. I've been wrong quite a bit on the Derby, especially years ago. I got better, and then I've been getting my butt kicked recently. Although I thought Journalism was one of the best horses to bet against in the Derby last year. I just thought he was a perfect second place horse, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. I didn't have a strong opinion on the winner. Couldn't do it. I didn't play the KDBC. Didn't like that they were forcing us to bet all these races with horses I didn't like, having to do all these show bets. I had the discipline to walk away, and I wouldn't have had sovereignty. Like, KDBC went to Frank Mustari. Props. He hit the exacta. He deserves it. Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses in different types of races. The Derby is in a stratosphere of its own. So think about that when you're starting to wonder about how to construct your tickets. So I want to talk about betting a little bit here so I can get into the nitty gritty. There's not really a bad bet at the Derby if you're playing horses that are price horses. So if you're going to bet a price horse to win, go ahead. Actually, I wouldn't bet the place. Some people say don't bet the place. So bet the win. Just focus on the win. Keep it simple. If you really want to play in the exotics, just know that you are, unless you have a very strong opinion against a favorite, it's probably better not to do that. Unless you think the horse is going to absolutely come in third and you don't care and you've got a price. But you need aim for double. Aim for double the odds. If you think a horse should be 10-1 and he's 30-1, bet it. If you think a horse should be 30-1 and he's 60-1, you can bet it. But keep in mind, I say that, and if you don't know how to pick 30-1 shots, I'm almost like throwing up in my mouth telling you to do that. If you can't put accurate probabilities on horses, why are you betting on horse racing? Like, why? I mean, I'm saying if you're trying to make money, if you're having a good time, do it. But I'm saying if your why is to try and make money or do and make money, know your strengths, exactly where you can deliver. In tournaments is a great way to do that. You can track your tournament play. I love the tournaments. Cash games are more my thing. But focus on win betting. In the Derby, because of the odds, you can bet on multiple horses to win in the Derby. Hey, Renegade, he's a good horse. He's a good horse. I have my kombucha here. It's hot in the desert, just so everyone knows. It's really hot. Definitely bacon. I don't know what to say that if you like Renegade. I don't know what you're saying. You're saying the horse has the highest probability of winning the race? That is some deep stuff. It's really deep. I don't understand the point of saying something like that. Is there an ego acknowledgement to be able to say, I had this horse. Look at me. Please validate me. If you're good at horse racing, you don't need to talk about what you're doing. You don't need to, okay, if with your family or your girlfriend or your lover or your husband, whatever. And I'm talking about hardcore. I'm not trying to sound like you can't have a good time throwing out your horses, whatever. But I'm playing this is a different game that I'm playing. If you're good at what you do, nobody needs to know anything except you. If you deliver on the Derby horse in a tournament, that's one thing. You're also trying to cash. And yeah, it's cool to win tournaments, don't get me wrong. But it's cool to be right when you are trying to predict something to get to 10 times your money. That's cool. That's an accomplishment that deserves a lot of respect. Whether you're a musician that can play a song you never heard, someone just played on your guitar for the first time you heard, whether you're an artist and you can paint somebody's portrait from seeing them for the first time, you can pick a horse that no one else can see. Or even the horses that are more obvious, all on the same day. It's a gift, but nobody really needs to know much about it except you. And then if you do get good and you want to help people, or you want to give out a horse here or there, you want to have some fun, go for it. But I just think that my fix is, let's just get clear on what we're doing as communicators in gambling. If you say you like something, is it an A bet, a B bet, or is it a C bet? Is it a high probability or a medium probability or a low probability? Can you put a number on it? Because you should be able to. And when you put a number on it, what's the cutoff? Where do you draw the line? And that's what needs to be said every time you talk about horse with anybody in the industry. How can you understand when someone says they like a horse? I don't understand that phrase. How much money are you going to bet on it? If you use Kelly equation, which is a percentage of your bankroll, how much money should I bet on a horse given my expected probability based on the size of my bankroll? There's an equation for that. And then you can trim it down if you want to even be a little more conservative. No one's going to talk like that. But you can say something like, if the horse doesn't go off at minimum 6-1, I will not bet this horse. And then if you bet him, then you got a problem. But you could bet $1 or $2 if you just, but again, back to ego. It's just want an ego stroke. You want to show people you had it. Nobody cares if you have it. Nobody ever cares if you have it. And even if you do have it, people aren't going to like you. I can say that firsthand, but I can also say if you're around someone that's very successful or doing well at something, that's why the Stoics talk a lot about shutting the F up. Don't celebrate your successes. Your success to yourself, the way you view yourself and the way you conduct yourself and the way you deliver on what you say you're going to do is what matters the most. And again, I'm speaking kind of like philosophically, take it from a good place. I say this because I want to encourage people to have a higher standard of their integrity when they communicate about horses so that they know themselves. They can connect their own dots. They can put things in categories, A, B's, and C's, low, medium, high probabilities. And they can check, like on the Derby, go back, look at yourself. How many times were you right or wrong or dead wrong? How much of the time was it not your fault? How much of it was racing luck? How much of the time was it just, you don't know? You don't know the answer. Mentally understand that when you play games like horse racing, 20% of the time it's luck. They say that 1 out of 5 times things are going to happen that you just can't really plan for. So when you talk about takeout and you talk about beating 20% takeout, you got this other 20% luck thing. So really, you really want to beat not 40% takeout, but 20% of 20%. So you want to get 20% for the takeout. And then you want to add in 0.2 times 0.2, another 0.04. So you really shouldn't be betting a horse race unless you can get 25% completely deducted from the races, from that race, from other horses in the race. And the win wagers, by far the best. Stick to that. So hopefully I'll do another show here in the next week. I'll be going to the Derby, by the way. I'll be out there with a small little crew. It's going to be a good Derby. And it's going to be one of the better Derbies. Very competitive. Very difficult. But once you get your horses together next week, we can talk a little bit more about some of the things you might have observed about yourself. And again, I apologize if the stream is bad. I am on a Starlink connection in the desert, so there's delays on my side. I already had an issue, but I'll wrap it up pretty soon here. Find your niche, find your place, get in where you fit in. I know I'm going to sound like a hypocrite. Don't listen to anybody. Listen to yourself. Block the noise out. Don't ask people who they like. Don't let them sway you. most of you all know what you need to know about the horses. It's not like new data. Like there's all these things you hear about, like so infrared machines that can measure heartbeats from a distance. It's not like you need some other data source to help you with this. The data is the data. It's out there. It's done. The workouts are coming. The decision is based on your brain, what you see, how you can tag the things that you look at in a race, and understand what is a fair price for your goals financially. Like I said, if every horse was the same in the Derby, they should all be 5%. That's what they should be. If they were all the same. I'm not saying that they're all the same, but it should tell you that as you're going lower and lower in odds, especially given the last few years, you're in a tough spot. There's certain times when the favorites deserve respect. I mean, Chrome and Always Dreaming were just monsters, but there's some little variables there. And granted, I actually ended up losing the KDBC on by betting the exact instead of the win bet. So that said, I will answer a question or two real quick here. Someone just said something about White Barrio. So you're the one telling me what good and bad is. You define your odds for that horse in that race. So I'll answer this way. If you thought the horse had a 20% chance, meaning 1 out of 5 times he wins the race, it was a bad bet. If you thought he had a 1 out of 4 chance of winning the race, it's a neutral bet. There's no point. And that's why even on the broadcast yesterday, I said, don't bet. I'm not going to bet that race. But if I did, White Barrio is maybe the only horse you can go with, but I would want 4-1. And you get 72, but I'm too greedy anyway. And this is the discipline thing. Some people have better skills at higher probability analysis. When you're talking about the difference between 25% and 30%, that is night and day. Like people don't realize the difference between 3-1 and 4-1 is night and day. 25% versus 33%. That's, I don't want to get too mathematical here, but I'm just going to say it this way. That's a big chunk higher when you give a horse 2-1. That's a big lift than 3-1. So you should be almost an order of magnitude that much more confident. And then you have the odds drops, which sucks because you don't even know if the horse will drop, which makes the game even harder. White Barrio was the only horse you could bet in the race. To me, I didn't bet the race. I was tempted because, like I said, you got to get that 20 to 25% knocked out. I thought Sovereignty had maybe a 30% chance, maybe 35. Journalism, maybe. Again, it's assuming that Sovereignty doesn't run, then Journalism wins. So the Bayesian stuff kicks in, and so he's probably closer to. Sovereignty is probably like 35 to 40, and Journalism is probably like 30 to 35, and it's just a gross. I hate those numbers because that's why I can understand why people would bet White Barrio at 7-2. And it was a strangely run race, by the way, and so I don't know if that necessarily means that you would have projected that. I mean, I would have thought White Barrio would have been the lead the whole way. So, I mean, bad isn't the question. The question is it a great bet? You should be asking the opposite of that. It's obviously an okay bet, but you're basically saying what you're saying, which is bad. If you thought the horse had a 30% chance, then heck no. If you thought the horse had a 25% chance, that's a bad bet to me, based on my brain. But he was actually 7-2, so it's really close. Anyway, you can message me more about that when you have other horses that you are thinking about classifying as bad or good or great. That's the game. If you want to make money on horse racing, figure out what 10% looks like. Thousands of times. What does 10% look like in your life? What's one thing you do in your life that's 10%? That happens 10% of the time. Not a coin flip, 50. Everybody knows what a coin flip is. What is one thing that happens 10% of the time in your life? For me, it could be like trying to get somebody's phone number at a music festival. And there's a certain angle in the sense like I'm, in my 40s, and then someone's might be at a certain age, or they might be a certain outfit, or they might be buzzed. It's loud, it's not loud. And there's like all the factors. So my point is quantifying your daily life is really important. If you want to be good at predicting probabilities on horses, start asking yourself, if the Derby were to be run 100 times, how many times does Renegade win? 20 times? 23 times? That's kind of what people are saying. All right. I'm not saying I like or dislike Renegade. What I am saying is if you're going to bet the race, you better dislike Renegade a lot. If you're going to bet the race, you better dislike Commandment a lot. If you like the race to bet, you better be hating on Further Ado. So those are kind of obvious facts to me. That doesn't mean I hate those horses. I'm saying that if I'm going to bet on the Derby at a certain level, those horses, they're off the table. I'm not encouraging you to bet the Derby either. I'm encouraging you to think about the math behind your decisions on a big race so that you can wrap your head around this, because the average people are losing 30% or more betting on horses because they can't sit on their hands because they want to tell somebody they want a horse race. If you're having fun and you're betting a little bit, and just screw around, go for it. No big deal. Have a good time. I'm not hating on that. If you're trying to do the impossible and see the future and pick stars out of the sky like this, I mean, Rich Strike, Stick Dan, Mage, Medina Spirit, Authenticity. Is it Authenticity or Authentic? I don't know. Let's mix them up. But to me, like those horses, Authentic. That's hard. That's hard from a lot of places. Have you guys ever had friends that are not smarter than you, and they do better at life than you, whether it's with their work or their money or their family or their lovers or their horse picks? Sometimes people don't know what they're doing. And the funny part is we project and think that we're smarter than them. It's like I got a lot of friends who are autistic. Got a lot of love for the autistic neurodivergence community. Mental health matters. People look at them a certain way. Everybody is coming from a different set of traumas or brain chemistries. If you can still pick a horse and you can't explain it and you're good, doesn't matter if I think you're smarter than me or if you can explain it or not. There's another person I've mentioned before that was really gifted at picking long shots. He couldn't really explain it. He tried. It was sometimes he could. So when he had a horse, I would look at the horse a little more carefully. That's all. All right, so it's getting late. I think I'm gonna head out of here, but go ahead and subscribe if you want more. I don't know how long I'm gonna be doing this, but I'm having a good time at it. Once the community gets a little more introduced to my style, I would imagine that they will want to ask more questions. I do appreciate you guys throwing yourselves out there into the cyber universe. I'll do a derby show a little later on. My goal is to get you to think about your derby journey. Yours is yours. Your brain knows certain things that my brain doesn't know. Put numbers to it, track it, look at the past 20 derbies, figure out where you're okay, where you're bad, and just understand you don't even have to bet that much. But the goal of the derby for me is to feel like I bet the right amount of money on the horse that I liked. And if I lost, then why did I lose? And if I win, then that's really gratifying, especially if I'm trying to hit the exact number in their tournament or the exact amount of money based on my bankroll. And then it's just going through the motions, tightening the screws. Years over years, I've been doing this, for more than 20 years, but like professionally about 15 years. Tournaments is one thing. Cash is a whole nother thing. So with me, you might see me in the public eye and see me as a cash tournament player. And that's one style that I'll play to get to EV on the top. But like I said, either on another podcast, I could have played it more safe in a lot of tournaments, and I would have had a lot more money to show for that. But I had to learn the hard way to know my boundary conditions. So even winning millions of dollars on the tournaments, but losing over 7 figures on the tournaments too, it was a little tough to swallow, to realize if I had played it safer in a couple of situations, when I knew that there was the option, I wanted the ego. I wanted to do it right. So anyway, ego's fun. Ego is not your amigo. Your amigo is discipline, delivering on what you say, having fun. And I know I'm serious. And Shoe's gone. He's out in Jersey. And I'm obviously in Coachella, but we're going to do another show this week. And I'm bringing on a couple other guests, another guy you guys will like at some point too. But hit me up on Twitter if you want to ask more questions. We can get some Twitter conversations going. Love me or leave me. I'm definitely going to come at it from a different angle, but I'm going to pound the rest of this kombucha here, and I'm going to hit the show, find some value, one way or the other. But thanks for listening. Thanks for putting up for the shenanigans from the earlier Starlink BS. But I have a lot of respect for you guys playing this game, taking it serious, listen to me. And hopefully I can guide you, get you guys some structure on the way you're betting.